Throwdown. I'm Trevor Gill.
And I'm Fred Arnold. This morning I thought we would mix it up a little bit and change the format. And what Trevor and I are going to do is we're going to talk about a series of topics. One of us will go first, and then the other one will weigh in on that topic, and we'll kind of alternate. And Trevor, would you like to start?
Sure, I'll start. My first topic I'd like to talk about is the Aldon Smith issue. For those of you who don't know, he was a linebacker for the San Francisco 49ers. And I believe it was last Friday morning at like 7 a.m. he got picked up for DUI and then marijuana possession. Well, anyways, the 49ers allowed him to play that following Sunday and then proceeded to suspend him and send him to rehab. I don't think he should have played that following Sunday anyways. I mean, you get picked up 2 days before a game in the morning, drunk driving. I mean, what kind of example is that setting for college kids and high school students, really?
I agree, Trevor. I guess I find the NFL very hypocritical. They will come down on steroid use. They'll come down on domestic abuses, which they should. But then a guy goes out and drinks and drives. They know he drinks and drives, and they say, well, you know, okay, we'll deal with it after the game because we really need him to play.
Yeah.
So I guess I find that whole thing very hypocritical. So Trevor and I totally agree on this topic. My first topic also touches on football, and it's Brett Favre. Brett Favre is back. For those of you who don't know, the former Green Bay Packer, New York Jet, Minnesota Viking, he retired, unretired, retired, unretired, and now he's retired again. He's 43 years old. He retired after the 2010 season. His agent, Bus Cook, said on Monday, and I quote, he could play today. He rides a bike 30 to 50 miles a day and runs 4 to 5 miles a day, and he has a 7% body fat. His agent, again, Bus Cook, told that to the New Horizons Credit Union First and 10 Club and went on record with that. It seems to me that Tebow mania has just taken a back seat.
Yeah, I would definitely say so. I mean, I don't think he needs to be playing. I mean, yes, he may be able to still play, but his time has passed, you know, right off into the sunset. Just stay gone.
And see, I say, let him play. There's 3 teams out there that could use him right now: Jacksonville, Tampa Bay, and Cleveland. All of them could use quarterbacks. Favre played his last season with the Minnesota Vikings in 2010. He was hobbled, he was beat up, he was hurt, still threw for 2,500 yards. With the rules in the NFL now, you know, where you basically can't touch a quarterback.
That's a very good point.
He could throw for 3,500 yards this season. Yeah. So I say let him play.
Much so. My next topic is Penn State. The NCAA has recently announced that they are going to start slowly reinstating their scholarships that they took away due to the big Sandusky scandal of a couple of years ago. And I guess I'm a little hesitant to, I mean, it's only been, what, a year, 2 years since that whole thing happened?
I think this is the second year we're in.
And they're already starting to give them back what they took away. I mean, can you really make that much change in 2 years' time?
You know, I'm okay with them giving some of that stuff back. You know, what Sandusky did was wrong. The jury, I think, is still out what Coach Paterno knew or what he didn't know. The NCAA, I mean, they've made a point, but at some point they're really penalizing the kids rather than you know, punishing for the sins of the past. I'm okay with them starting to put some of that stuff back in again.
I guess, you know, when you look at it from the standpoint of, they basically cleaned house of everybody that was involved.
Yes.
And so nobody currently there, I guess, was there when all this was taking place. So I mean, I guess I can kind of see that, but at the same time, what kind of precedent does that set for other universities that have
what penalties do they specially have for them, do you know?
I know they had like a 4-season, I believe, postseason ban, and then drastically reduced their scholarships.
And how long of a period was that going for, do you know?
I can't recall.
and we're into the second season on this. I agree with the postseason ban. Because I mean the whole university system failed. Graham Spanger, the head of a Penn State, who was formerly at Nebraska, they're saying he knew a little bit about that situation too. So I do agree that the university needs to pay, but I guess I would like to see them start reinstating at least some of those scholarships for those kids.
I think it's going to. They said this year is going to be 5, and then slowly, gradually build up to be at the level that it was before.
Okay. Okay. The amount of concussions that we're seeing in football games on Sundays, I guess I don't know why they're making such a big deal out of it now, because football isn't any harder of a sport now than it was 30 years ago. People don't hit any harder now than they did 30 years ago. The safety equipment is better.
Yes, by far.
And nobody wants to see anybody get hurt. I certainly don't want to see anybody get hurt. But the NFL, and I call them now the no fun league, when you watch a game, there's almost a penalty on every play for unnecessary roughness, for hitting above the shoulder pads, leading with your head. And I played a lot of football when I was young, and we were always taught to lead with our heads. And I was covering a game Friday night down in Kansas where a kid came off on the sidelines, and he said that his head was just a little bit fuzzy, and the coach, he probably did the right thing by calling the EMTs over to look at him and stuff, but then he went back in later to play. But I remember back in the day, if you came off the field and said your head was a little bit of fuzzy, coach told you to take a salt pill, a drink of water, shake it off, and get back in. I mean, that's not always necessarily the right thing. It's always good to judge on the side of prudence, but I just think we've gone a little bit overboard, particularly in the NFL.
I think so too. I mean, anymore, like you said, every game has at least 1 or 2 penalties for illegal hits, and the bad part is anymore the players really can't hit anywhere. I mean, you can't hit above the neck or below the waist, and you've got a really small area there to aim.
You know, are we getting close to flag football?
I think football? It's getting very close there.
My son and I were watching the Packer game last Sunday, and I know he was upset by it, and I was upset by it, and I keep talking about, you know, back in my day, back in my day. Well, if you look back, you know, Ndamukong Suh for Detroit, they say he's one of the dirtiest players in football now. 30 years ago, he's just an average football player, because that's how they all played. And I guess I have a problem on that same subject with the $765 million lawsuit that's been penalized against the NFL for the whole concussion deal. It's football. There again, it's football. Those guys know what they're signing on for when they go into the pros. They don't have any problems taking a $100 million contract. But you know, now those guys want to say, well, you know, my career was cut short because of it. Well, if you're a dynamite tester, you know what you're getting into. You know what you're getting into. Absolutely, I totally agree.
The last topic I have is for NFL expansion. This weekend they're going to play a game in London again, and they've done this the last couple of years, I believe. And they're starting to talk about potentially getting a professional NFL team in London. And I guess if the NFL, in my opinion, if the NFL is going to expand, I would rather have them expand here in the United States. I mean, there's plenty of venues around around the states that don't have anything. For example, right here in Nebraska, I mean, we don't have any pro teams besides Kansas City, which is quite a ways away.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think the NFL trying to expand in Europe. I know they played games in London's Wembley Stadium. They played games in Spain, in Barcelona, and in Mexico City. I think those sports are received over there kind of as a novelty.
Yeah.
It would be like if, I know soccer's catching on here in the United States, but it would be like if cricket wanted to expand their international league to the United States. I think you go where the money is. I think you go where the sponsorship is. I think you go where the fan base is. You know, NFL is huge in the USA. It's like NASCAR. I mean, I can't see NASCAR expanding into France any more than I can see Formula One racing down at Charlotte Motor Speedway. I think some sports are just geographic in nature and country specific in nature. I think the NFL.
Well, and they've tried using the argument that the games that they've had over there have been all sellouts and packed stadiums and what have you. But if you get that constant, if you have that over there all the time, is it always going to be there? I don't think your fan base would.
I don't see it either.
No,
I don't. My final topic for the day is a little bit on local sports. Read an interesting headline this week that said ACT tests force Fairbury to play shorthanded, and it kind of struck me as a little bit odd because in prep sporting venues, you see kids miss sporting events because of illness. You see them miss sporting events because of disciplinary actions or something like that. But you never see a kid miss a sporting event because of ACT tests. I just thought that was a little bit interesting. It was a good week up at Meridian this week. The Meridian girls won their division of the Udecus title. There were 3 girls, Blair Hofstetter, Miranda Johnson, and Ashley Sukup, that made the first team selection, and another 2 girls, Rebecca Taylor and Amy Endorf, excuse me, it was Ashley Endorf, who were honorable mention teams. Also, Meridian won their homecoming game this past week against Hampton by a score of 80-20.
Wow, that's how a homecoming game should go.
You couldn't want a better, more fun homecoming game. So it was a really great week at Meridian. And this weekend, Fairbury will have their homecoming game against Fillmore Central. Fairbury has had a tough early schedule at 0-3. And hopefully they can get back on track with Fillmore Central, and hopefully they can get a homecoming win.
Yeah, I think Fillmore Central is a little bit more to their size of school.
Yes, I agree. And that's all for this week. Thank you for watching.
Thank you.